My name is LA Wills. Welcome to my channel. This is my Mastermind Music Productions channel. This is so welcome, guys. Today I'm going to explain to you guys the big question everybody's asking. Should Lil Pump sign to a label or stay independent? Again, I want to apologize in advance. Sorry if I misspelled anything on the screen while I'm typing and shit. But let's get to it. So. Everybody wants to know, should Lil Pump fucking sign to a label? And according to him, to his Instagram post and everybody's seen, Lil Pump wants to sign to a label to pay him no less than 12 to 15 million. And everybody on academics, everybody's pretty much watching academics because he's the one who explains all this shit in depth. But and this was Lil Pump said on his own feed and shit. So, what do you guys think? Would a label pay him 12 to 15 million to sign? So let's go into a little bit more detail of the pros and cons of being independent, being in the label and being independent. And so I'm gonna break this shit down as an independent artist point of view, and as myself being an independent artist and learning my great deal of the music industry business side as I'm going along, going through this journey of becoming an artist and shit, right? But fuck it, that's not my shit. Let's talk about more Lil Pump, right? So Lil Pump, I would say, has the advantage right now because he has a great hype to him, right? So his songs are being played. He was on Billboard charts, top 100, the shortest song, ever, like second to the shortest song, I guess, ever on the Billboard charts, like topping one of the, grossing fucking, or whatever. You guys get the point. Being on the charts and shit. And his deal with Warner, he got out of that fucking deal. I'm gonna use the academics' word, finesse. That finessed himself out of his fucking deal. So he's a free agent. He is currently looking for a label to sign him, and he won't sign for less than 12 to 15 millions. So let's get the pros to a label. Let's get started with the pros to a label, right? So pros to a label comes cash up front. Right? So they might give him, like, for example, Warner was giving him a poor ass deal, right? So they were giving him $345K as an advance for his song before his for his album, not for his song. I'm sorry, for his album, to make his album, and then per album. So they give him, here's $345,000. And I think it was like 15% royalties, right? So they're giving him, so he would have to pay this back to the label with 15% royalties once his album surpassed the amount of money that he was gonna make. So let's take a break from this, but let's go to what real people think. So, or what should an independent artist be thinking? Maybe someone who is signed, but you're already signed, so you're kind of like fucked unless you try to get out of that deal. But let's look at the top potential earnings for a song, right? So what goes into a song? What is in a song? So a song is based off royalties. So we're going to go into royalties. A song is based off writers and producer. So what is a writer? Right? A writer is a person who comes up with the song, like the lyrics. It could be a lyric. A writer could be either someone who comes up with the lyrics, who performs the song, maybe on the actual master recording, on the master. No, not even. So, right. So just who is the lyrics? Like it could be the composer, the producer, a guitarist, a drummer, a singer. Whoever came up with the instrumentation that is also a writer. So a song is technically a song is divided in two ways. Which is the writers, and the publishing. Each song, you get 50% for the writers. So a song has to equal 100%, right? A total percentage of a song. %, and the writer's share is worth 50%. And the publishing share is 50%. Shit. Alright. Right, so royalties. So it all comes down to royalties. So what the label wants to do is kind of, if they don't recoup their money, then it's a loss, right? So let's go back to the pros and cons of being in a label, right? If you take it, in my point of view, as an independent artist, right, like actually really doing it by myself, Lil Pump has a great advantage right now because he has the capability of going independent and making more money than what the labels are offering him. He has more potential than making more than 15 million if he markets correctly. Like let's take a look at the most gross earning song like songs, right? So this is an example. This isn't hip hop. I know what you guys mean, but I know what you guys are gonna say. But let's take "Yesterday" by John Legend and Paul McCartney, right? 1965. So that is a song, right? Written by them, and I believe, I don't know exactly who their label is, but they actually split the song 50-50 split from the I'm pretty sure from the writer's side. And in my example here. So the writers, you could split this down by writers. So how many writers? You might have 2 or 3 different writers, for example, of the actual lyrics or song, and maybe they've split a couple percentage down to the whoever produced the song, who made the instrumentation, and then the publisher, whoever was the label or anything, probably took another percentage of the publishing. So they made $30 million. $30 million alone for this one song. One song. I'm not talking about a whole album. I'm not talking about, 7 fucking thing deal and shit. Nope. One song. And so there's a lot of shit that comes to the music industry if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And people don't know that. People just see 12 to 15 million and you get really excited, but what if a label, what I think of a label like is, okay, they're giving you 15% of royalties. $15% of royalty, right? So they're getting 15% of royalties, but what are they making, right? Like, so Lil Pump had a lot of like hype. He was already, I guess he was signed to a media platform agency where kind of like promoted his videos and his platform, the shit he did before he started getting known as a rapper. Because Lil Pump had a following before. He was a rapper. As he was working was way up with Lil Perp. But anyways, so they give you cash up front. They invest in you. Pros to being in a label. Well, cons. Well, I would say this should go in cons. Like, they give you so little percentage. They promote. Okay, right. So that's the the cons of being a label is they give you shitty deals, right? Like, so 15% that's a con to being to a label, right? 15% of your music, I feel, is very poor deal in my point of view. But that depends. How much is your song gonna crack? How much is your song gonna play? That depends on who buys it, the streams it gets nowadays, because albums are kind of obsolete or dying. If Lil Pump takes an independent route towards being an independent artist instead of fucking with the label, because when you're a label, they want to sign you. In my opinion, they want to sign you for so little. Seven. What's the usual shit? I think let's use XXX Tentacion as an example. He got signed for I think 6 million. Let's look it up. Sorry, because of the buffering guy. His deal with Capitol Records. Forgot how much the deal was. I think it was around 6 million. Multi-million-dollar record, right? So I don't know how much percentage he might be getting on the back end. Sorry. Again, I don't know how much he might be getting in the back end, but I think X also signed a poor deal, because he could be getting a lot more. So let's, as we've seen before from great artists, and if you believe what that you're a great artist and you're already on the top Billboard charts making money, and you have everybody streaming your music, that's a great platform to take your shit independent. Like, he's gonna need to know about this shit, like the business side and what goes into a song, and independent, like, into royalties. How do you get your royalties? Shit like that. Who collects your royalties from you? And when you're signed to a label, your label collects your royalties. But when you're when you're independent, you have to figure out a way how to collect your royalties. And in reality, it goes down to your publishing. Your publisher collects your money for you and pays you out. But you also split the royalties in what we call performance rights organization. Like, what is the music performance rights organization? And these are the main known ones who we see who are within the States and Canada. ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. I happen to be a member of ASCAP. And this is where it goes down. Like, this is where you register your music. It's not copyright is like amongst creation, if you could prove it. If you have your stems and your files, everything recorded. If you're doing business, if you're like probably radio and shit like that in the music business, and then this is whoever publishes your music. This would be like labels, Sony, everybody. If you make music, if you write music, if you play guitar or whatever. I'm a member of ASCAP. You see, as we see here. I think Dr. Dre is part of ASCAP, and just this is a performance rights music organization for the actual artists. And a lot of artists, a lot of rappers, a lot of independent people don't know about this side, because this is music business, and this is not fucking just trying to, people think, I don't know, if they go with a label they're going to make a lot more money. But if you already have the exposure, if you're already busting your ass, nowadays a label won't even fucking look at you unless you have a sick ass following. If you're doing something, if you're impacting shit, if you're impacting the community. So again, this goes back down to knowing your shit, knowing who you're fucking with. For example, like royalties again. The song is divided in two ways. Let's take Russ as an example. So, and then you could do your research on how songs are paid off, like how you register your music, how to get your songs on Spotify, you could go on TuneCore or CD Baby. There's many different platforms now where you could upload your music onto iTunes and Spotify and all this shit. You can see what's the pay rate, how much does Spotify or iTunes and shit like that pay an artist every time you stream their song. And it actually depends. It might be like how YouTube monetizes their shit, how some people get paid millions of dollars for their ads and shit like that. Obviously for Tidal and all this other streaming platforms might be different, but it kind of goes down to the label, right? So if you have a label representing you, they're gonna fight for you to get the most paid out platform, but the most paid out platform in the platform. So obviously you're not gonna be getting these small payouts per your songs be streaming. They want you to get the big money, right? So per stream. So it might be a little difficult to understand right now, but if you have a label backing you, they might have a lot more credibility. Your song's #1. You're on the Billboard charts and all this shit. So it might back you up a little bit more to get on to pay you as an artist. If a lot of people, if you're on playlists, Rap Caviar and shit like that. Again, you could do your own research on how much it pays and what's a performance rights agency, how to get registered and shit. If you are an independent artist or if you make music, period, what do you think? Again, this goes up. Lil Pump is a perfect example to show you guys all this, because he is a independent fucking free agent right now, and he has the upper hand. And if I'll go a little bit more depth into this. So let's take Russ into consideration, right? So Russ, who is an independent artist, and his label, I think he just recently signed within a year or two with Columbia Records, right? But let's talk about a little bit more about Russ, because Russ is that fool. A lot of people don't know about him. A lot of people hate about him, and just people hate. But he is a perfect example of how I would say Lil Pump should kind of take his career in a way, because he does have the upper hand. Okay, so for example, let's take Russ. He's an independent artist, but he has to do everything himself, or before he got with Columbia, right? So before he had to do everything else. He had to promote everything himself. He had to push his way up to try to get known. So he would hit up blogs and people would ignore him. Just like most of us and shit that we try to do our shit, we get ignored by the media because we have nothing popping and shit. But he worked his way up on SoundCloud, hustling his way, producing and fucking making a track every fucking week and uploading that shit on SoundCloud till he got a lot of like fucking plays and shit to the point where he blew up. So he had a lot of momentum. You get me? He has built up his catalog so big where labels and shit like that is gonna notice. And Russ took he just didn't see dollar bills and shit and be like a couple $1 million and be like, oh shit, like that's it, I'm rich. Like he took a different mentality towards it. He went with Columbia Records. Why? Because they gave Russ a 50-50 deal, which he has said in many interviews. But this is a specific deal. This is again, he's smart about this. When you're an artist and shit like that, you have to take a lot of things into consideration. Your fucking your brand name, your artist name, your everything. Because when you sign to a label, they control what you put out. They control what time you put it out. They do all this other shit that's just not right. And compared to let's take a look at Russ again. So he signed to Columbia Records. They give him a 50-50 deal. That means he keeps 50% of the writer share, and Columbia keeps the publishing. Right? So this like writers, he gets this. Columbia gets this, because a song is split 50-50, and then obviously if you're gonna do like an album deal, all the songs go 50-50 and the writer's share gets 50-50. So Russ signed with Columbia so he could get pushed more. They're investing money in him, and he's not investing. He's still getting a great deal, which 50% of your music is a great fucking deal. Like, to own 50% of your actual, to own 100% is fucking great, which he does have. We'll talk about that right now as well. 100%. He has a great deal, 50% back with the label, because usually, again, like I showed you before, this was only getting Lil Pump is only getting 50% of royalties. Russ is getting 50%. And then Russ could distribute this any way he wants. So say he gets he produces his own shit. So, he doesn't have to give the producer anything because he is his own producer. But say he was to give, say, a different artist and say they have producers, the producer might get, for creating the beat, he might get 50%, which is 25% here. Or he might get, or maybe even 15%, depending on how many people you have on your track. Right here, you might have two or three. You might have two or three different artists who wrote for the song, and you might have a producer, and then maybe your mixing and master engineer probably get a point or 2% off, like a percent or two. Different shit. However you want to distribute this, Russ's side from, say, this is Russ's shit, right? And then Columbia would get this, the 50% for pushing his shit more, for doing, I guess, all the distribution and marketing and all this shit for his shows, But again, so Russ is a perfect example to show you guys. So when Russ signed to this deal, he probably just signed for his current project. For his current project, right? So maybe say Russ. I don't know this for sure again, but this is just an example. So Russ has a whole bunch of songs, right? He just doesn't have his latest album or his latest 2 albums. Say, for example, latest. So, say again, this might be for his current album or maybe for his last two albums, but say he wrote this deal for just these 2 albums, right? So now, because Russ was independent before and he had songs before he signed with Columbia, right? So he, at that point, like, he probably had, like, I think over like 100 songs or over 150 songs. I think he said his catalog was over 300 songs, right, on his catalog. Right, so when he signed with Columbia, he made sure that he kept 100% of this, right? 100% of this. He made sure he's like, you guys ain't touching this catalog. This is my personal catalog. So he is still keeping his songs, right, 100%. But for his new projects, which means he's getting both. He's getting both. Writer share and publishing, which is 100% of your song. You know, this is like what an artist fucking wants. And you know, if people hate on him because people don't understand this, and he does understand this, and you know, it's just fucking simply truth. People wish this is a fucking amazing deal, 50%, but because he already had, you know, he was already on the grind. You know, he was already trying to do his shit, and then, you know, obviously he chose the fucking record deal, the record label who he wanted to be with, which is Columbia Records, because they gave him the deal he wanted, and he felt Columbia was, you know, suited him. You know, so in reality, like I think Russ said before, he gets, I think, which is 100K a year. Oh, a month, I'm sorry, for his catalog. $100K a month in I would say streams or purchases. Right, so Russ owns 100%. Russ's catalog, 100% of his catalog is 300 songs with both writers. So he owns 100%, 100K a month for his catalogs just in streams. He's talking about this alone, not his new catalog, right? So now his deal with Columbia. So, you know, it's a big difference. It's a big thing to consider how Lil Pump should take this aspect when it comes to signing with a label, right? And you know, and there's a lot of things that you could do, you know, independent and both with the label's help, right? So a lot of things, you know, come with fucking music and being in the label, but you could do this as well as being independent, which is music placements, which pay fucking money, right? So they pay you money. And these go to your royalties, right? So, you know, the networks, whoever's like, say Warner Brothers or whoever network it's on or whatever, who wants to use the song and being placed in a commercial or TV or games or whatever, they have to pay money. So that money goes to you. But again, if you're Lil Pump, if you were in the old deal that he had, I think it was 15% with Warner. With Warner, right? You know, that's a big chunk out of the full 100% of the money. But again, this is only 50% of the writer's side. Not the full 100%, you know, writers and publishing. So there's a lot of things to consider when being in Lil Pump's position. You know, do you want to just take the easy route, like, fuck it, let me sign with a label for 12 to 15 million, and let fucking the label kind of, again, fucking academics' words, finesse me out of all these fucking potential dollars, that I could be making and shit, like eventually millions of dollars, because I showed you guys the example of, the potential growth for one single song if you play your cards right, So say, and who knows how much Lil Pump, you could probably do the research on the streams and break it down to see how much Lil Pump got for Gucci Gang alone being on the Billboard charts, and how many times it's being played on rotation as we speak right now on internet radio and all that shit that's going on. Everybody who's the hype, even YouTube now, is YouTube has to now pay royalties to ASCAP and shit like that, and to the labels, because that's why the whole YouTube shit is getting crazied out, because it's the whole music industry shit that wants money. Like everything has to be accounted for, and this is their way of monetizing everything. And so it's fucking crazy. It's a fucking crazy way of fucking doing business, and that's why the labels get fucking finesse. That's why artists are pissed, because they're not getting paid. That's why producers are getting pissed, because people don't know what's up. And in reality, that's a whole different world in the music business. But you have to know what's up. I mean, Russ knows what's up. He was on tour before the label even hit him up. He was doing his shit before. He was just on the grind, and then so he knows what's up. That's why I feel like artists hate on him and shit like that. And then Lil Pump, luckily got out of his deal, for different artists. If you, even this breaks down in the same category for video, this shit's all, the royalties might be different. You have to look up the shit for royalties, but this is how it's kind of broken down. And like, let's take for albums, I'm gonna use another example, like right, so let's take into consideration XXX Tentacion, right? I think he did a deal with Capitol Records, right, for 6 albums. 6 albums, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I think it might be 5 albums. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but let's just use this as an example. I'm not too sure, let's use this as an example. So 5 albums, like say 6 million, right? So Capitol Records paid him $6 million for 5 albums, right? And I don't know the exact percentage, and I don't really want to go into looking into it. But let's just I would say, in my opinion, for the amount of clout and really well-written music that XXX Tentacion has, he should go on a more independent route, because like Lil Pump, I would say, is more hype music, and in the now moment, XX music is more, I would say, would live longer. No hate to Lil Pump, that fool's on the grind, and I respect anybody who's on the grind. And these guys are youngsters, so I'm an old cat. I'm 29, so this is fucking weird. But yeah, so X, right? So he signed 5 albums for $6 million, which might be a potential, say, 40 songs. What do you guys think about this deal? You think that's a good deal? After me explaining you how all this shit works, how in a way, how deals go, I don't know if if XXX Tentacion isn't a 360 deal, but say he was, that means they have to, they could take your image, they could take your brand name, they could take that name, they could take, they could take your name, they could take your brand, they could tell you when to put out, tell you what to write about. You know, 100% creative control. These things matter, when it comes down pretty much to you as an artist, or, as a musician. It just depends what you want to do. Shit, my bad. But that's pretty much what it comes down to. Like, are you willing to give up your name? Oh shit. Your name, being told when to put out music, being told what to write about, taking creative control, maybe even being right, being stopped from releasing music. Like we heard some stories, like look at Lil Wayne's situation, right? He can't release, Carter 5, I believe, shit like that. That's a fucking 360 deal. That's the whole point when somebody tells you to sign on the spot for say, when you're poor and you don't have nothing growing up, people don't teach you this shit. This is not on YouTube too much, the fucking business of music, because people want to keep this shit a secret so they could take your fucking money, and it's reality, and people don't see that shit. Like, when I found out about this shit, I felt fucking like, god damn, these fuckers are fucking thieves. That's why you hear so many people getting finessed and being fucking robbed and being like treated like fucking rappers are fucking poor, because the label or whoever fucking signed them is keeping all their money. And people don't realize that. People don't know the business of music, and it's just fucking reality. And this is what you go against. They take your creative control. They stop you from. They could buy you out. Like, say fucking. Sorry. They could completely buy you out. Say like, oh fuck it, we're not gonna give you any hype. We're gonna sign somebody else that kind of looks like you, talks like you, sounds like you, and we're gonna give him all your songs. We're gonna put you in the back. You can't release any music. Pretty much stop your whole career and shit if you don't look at the contract, if you don't have someone representing you, if you're not, if they're not looking out for you. You have to look at what you want and what you're gonna be able to do, and it comes down to you as an artist to be able to realize that. And I don't know. It took me a while to try to understand the whole how everything works, how to like register your music, how to Nielsen Broadcasting, how to register your music with them, how to like try to try to like really learn the industry so you don't get like. I'd rather be poor knowing I didn't get fucked over, in a way. Like I would do a 50-50 deal because a 50-50 deal sounds awesome. That's why a lot of producers and a lot of like. If you don't know, there's a lot of like agencies who like sell beats and stuff like that to artists. They take 50% of your publishing, because they're trying to get you a deal. That's the fucking publisher's job, to get you placed, right? So a lot of people don't understand this, and I'm just trying to break it down for all of you, and I hope this video did that. So you think he should still sign for 12 to 50 million, or you think he has more potential? You think he's gonna be done in like fucking a year, 2 years, 3 years, or you think he's gonna go the long route and still put out music. But again, that's on you, the artist. I see right now Lil Pump kind of wants fast cash. He wants, he thinks this is a lot of money, but he doesn't know probably his potential or what he could be doing. All you really need to know is accounting. Hire some people, and trust your crew. Don't be just fucking spending money like a dumbass, and really, know your shit, know your contracts, read them, hire a fucking lawyer, give him 5%, dude, just to know you're never gonna get fucked. Which is, I'm sure, what Russ has. Like, Russ has people in his team where he knows that he's not gonna get fucked over. He knows who he's fucking with. He knows the deals he's making. Just learn the shit, because if you don't, I feel like you're gonna get ripped off like XXX Tentacion with a $6 million deal for 5 albums. That's 40 songs. When the whole thing right now, it's not even on albums. It's not even on record. Fucking, the whole thing that right now that's popping. Albums are gone. It's all about singles, and what everybody does now is they place their fucking single on an album. There you go, and the album goes fucking platinum. So that's how the game is played. If people don't want to realize that shit, then everybody wants to get signed to a label and sign this. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the money is fucking great, right? Who wouldn't want $12 to $15 million to being signed with a label for fucking 4 albums? Yeah, I could do that shit like nothing, right? Like, but you're still gonna have to pay taxes on this, right? And you can't get out fucking over the tax guy, like look at fucking TMX right now. But in reality, this is a lot of money. But you think it's fair? That's what I want to ask. Do you think it's fair? Getting this, you think it's worth losing your creative control when you could decide to do music? Who do you decide to do music with? Unless you're smart about it, keep do business on the side, keep 100% of other shit, because right here they keep clothing. This relates to clothing, merch, shows. They could take a piece out of everything if you don't know what the fuck you're reading. Compared to Russ, right? Where they could only be, this is, right? He gets 50%. They get 50%. Colombia, right? Right? But again, this might be for his current projects. He still might be able to sell his own merch. His shows, 100%. Right? So that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, this is pretty much the whole breakdown. Like, for you not to get, I would say, I don't see the hype of everybody still trying to get signed and trying to get labeled and trying to do everything. I get it. Like, it's getting out of the fucking hood, and it's like progressing your life and everything. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I ain't fucking poor because I work my ass, like I fucking work my ass off, and I do what I gotta do to put food on the table. But again, I'm not fucking rich. I'm not like wealthy and shit. Like, but I'm trying to work my ass to get there. But I'd rather learn the business first than to get fucked how some artists get fucked, because I learned the business, and I'm never gonna get tricked or not knowing into what I'm signing, or you know what I mean. That's why I feel like it's a little harder for me, because anybody who I try to talk to, who I try to deal with, I bring out contracts and shit like that, and people get scared when they see contracts. I don't know what the fuck, they don't want to read and shit like that. People just get scared, but in reality, the lifestyle you live is the way you spend money, and fuck it. It all goes down to how you want to do it. And that's it. Sorry, guys. So I hope you guys get it. What a PRO is, how deals go down, how being signed to everything is. Pretty much the whole shit. So thank you guys for watching.